Hello, my name's Liza Lim. I'm Professor of Composition at the Sydney Conservatorium of Music, where I work with students from first years to PhD. When I was a kid, I was absolutely obsessed with this idea of inventing a new kind of colour that wouldn't have been seen before. I didn't become a painter or a visual artist, but that idea of inventing new colours and sounds is very much at the core of my thinking as a composer. I'm interested in all kinds of sounds, even the ones that you mightn't think of as musical. This could be the sound of traffic, or birds, or insects, or any kind of noise in the environment. I'm interested in the fingerprints of the sound, the inner life of how sounds start and develop, whether they're crunchy and smooth, how they bloom, resonate, and decay. Because this is what creates this liveliness of the sound, the voice of the sound. And this aspect of the quality of voice of sounds is one of the ways in which music really communicates emotion. As you might expect, percussion instruments are really fascinating to me. Here I've got a spring drum, sometimes also called a thunder drum. It's a fairly cheap instrument. Here's the package. This was $19.99. And it's rather simply constructed. There's a metal spring, and when you strike or move the spring, the vibrations travel up to the skin, which are then amplified by the drum, the resonator. And actually, this is a basic acoustic principle of an instrument like a violin, where you have a string that's excited by plucking or bowing, vibrations going up to a bridge, in this case a skin, and then being amplified by a body. So you can tap it, you can scrape it, shake the drum, tap the drum skin, and also play the open end, which is a real favourite sound of mine. It's fairly basic, but potentially very poetic. It can play astonishingly loudly to make these thunder sounds. And you can also get very soft, mysterious sounds. And I use this instrument in a piece of mine called Atlas of the Sky, a kind of ritual opera which is about crowds and power. And that was written for a singer, 3 percussionists, and a crowd. The crowd part is for people from the community of any age. They don't have to be musicians. And they play simple percussion instruments and things like small IKEA chairs, and stones and kids' toys to make these big massed sounds. So let's have a little look at what that piece was like. I really like that sound of the spring drum in Atlas of the Sky, and I felt there was so much more that I wanted to say with that. And so I actually used that instrument and that sound right at the beginning of this orchestral piece that I'm writing right now. It's a piece which is called Mary, Transcendence After Trauma. It's a work I'm writing for the Bavarian Radio Symphony Orchestra in Munich. And it's a work which celebrates the figure of Mary and references this biblical story of Mary being visited by the angel Gabriel and being told that she will give birth to the Christ child. And you can see here in the score, it's very, very fresh. You can see the work begins with the solo violin, the concertmaster, who is playing a spring drum, and the violinist starts with this very humble gesture of this pulsing spring drum very softly, and it starts to grow. For me, that sound is like a fetal heartbeat, and in the piece everything's heard from Mary's perspective. And so this pulsation, this heartbeat, is gradually taken up by other instruments and then by other parts of the orchestra, becoming this real sort of sonic halo. And you have these huge chords that spread across the orchestra, opening and closing like wings of these rich harmonies. So simple things can be very powerful, and you might also like to explore a percussion instrument like this spring drum, or really any object that's at hand, for instance a coffee cup, or even pencil and paper. Everything around us is a potential gateway for the imagination and a way of tuning your ear to the world. I'm proud to be part of a big team of composers at the Conservatorium, including some of Australia's most renowned and active composers like Matthew Heinsohn, Carl Vine, Paul Stanhope, Michael Smetman and others, covering a huge range of styles. We offer a comprehensive curriculum, whether you want to write for orchestras and ensembles in the concert hall, experimental music, for film and commercial music and video games. And there are many opportunities for professional placement so that students get the training they need to go out into the field. The Conservatorium is also a leader for gender diversity and inclusivity in music, supporting the award-winning Composing Women program that I lead, whose work you'll see in this video. One of the mottos for the University of Sydney is somewhat paradoxical. It's about learning through unlearning. And what that means is the university promotes curiosity to look at things differently, to ask questions that you haven't asked before. At the Sydney Con, you can expect to learn practical music making, theory and academic skills, but also to develop your own thinking tools, your own creative voice. I'm excited by the many close industry connections the Conservatorium has, which really helps our graduates in making their mark on cultural life in Australia and internationally.